Welcome to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's go on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. Let me just start off by saying if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, The Force Always, I'm here about 3 or 4 times a week, usually 3, with the news, the views, reviews, and interviews of all sorts. And like and share this video if you like. No matter what, I'll be here as The Force Always, up or down. Anyway, let's get on with the news. Well, today's news is no news is good news. That is regarding Starfighter and the Mandalorian and Grogu. It's the most, sort of anticipated things in Star Wars at the moment, besides, product lines and gaming and stuff like that. But they are definitely the, more big events, and I say events, coming up in the Star Wars calendar, especially Mandalorian and Grogu. There is no news that is good news. The only thing I'll add to that news is that we are still waiting for a Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. I've, waited and waited. I think you're all waiting as well to see what the next sort of trailer looks like. I've said the Monday Night Football game in America, which is quite popular over there, will probably have a tease to a trailer for the next day online. That's my next possible prediction. But also is coming up is going back to school. And obviously this film is going to be directed more to kids who are at school. So it could be something that they use in the cross-marketing idea for that possibility. But anyway, with Starfighter, as we know, we've had Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg visit the set and of Starfighter. It's now in editing process at the moment. So that's actually what happened. It's been reported. And that's it. The final bit of news, we've had the big week of Kathleen and Kennedy possibly standing down, getting fired, retired, whatever it is. We don't know what it is, but there is a lot of speculation. She's actually going to officially do this in the next week or two. So actually, this show is actually dedicated more to her and her predecessors. So my opinion and things, review and all that will be later in the show. But anyway, that is the news for this time around. Let's get on with the views. Views is my story ideas I have with Star Wars. And again, I accept the story for what it is. From start to finish, it's a great journey. It's a great space adventure. It's a great space opera, as we sort of know it to be. Meaning it is an epic adventure in space, pretty much. My story idea is going to be circulating about this whole idea of the title of this particular video, Kathleen Kennedy, good or bad? Question mark. My opinion about her and the predecessors a bit later in the show. But what is one story that has been missed? And this is not a bad reflection on her behalf, but it was one story that I think, and I have touched on this before, in fact, I think the last episode, but I think the one episode of story that it would just be great within Star Wars fans, you could have a human element, because I do believe that Star Wars is a human element with a space adventure around it. It's not, sci-fi from start to finish. It could be that, but it's not that. It was never intended to be that way, according to George Lucas. He created a human story within a big space opera. Started off with Luke Skywalker in Tatooine. Even though that was not the start of Star Wars, that's what it started off to be when he created it in the beginning. I think the story that is missing is Darth Plagueis, and if you know him from the comments in Revenge of the Sith, the Wise. Darth Plagueis' story would have a human element because Palpatine, who was the apprentice to Darth Plagueis, was human at that point, or was quite. It looked like a human. Didn't look like this evil Satan sort of person that we got to then know after Revenge of the Sith because of the injuries occurred onto him by Mace Windu, and then we always knew him in the 80s as this sort of grey little wrinkled up sort of creature that is evil. But I think Darth Plagueis was the movie that was missed by Kathleen Kennedy to really push out there. Star Wars hardcore fans would have been absolutely enthralled with it. I think you could have had a human element to it, sort of done in a certain way without, making it too family friendly. Because Star Wars is a family friendly franchise, and I think that would have been an absolute great story to be told by Kathleen Kennedy, but it was never put out there in an official cinematic version. Anyway, that is just an idea that I'd like to see. It can still happen with the new people, or person, whoever it is. So that is my views for this time around. Let's get into reviews. Reviews is going to be really something different, and it's not going to be something that I have in this room today. It's going to be about the title of this particular episode, Kathleen Kennedy, good or bad, question mark. And this is my opinion. I think personally that Kathleen Kennedy has done good at Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm. As controversial that is, I'm not going to stand for the missed opportunities, the fan dislike to her. I'm not going to get into sort of becoming a part of that sensation. I'm just going to base it on her movies. Let's just go through them. She started off, so I'm going to say she's good, and I think when she's gone, the good will be missed, but it may be replaced with an even better, we don't know as yet, but I just think she's done something good. Anyway, so the first film she had was Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I'll give you the good and bad to each of these films. I think it was good because the energy of Star Wars was alive. Bad was it was a bit too similar to A New Hope, which is the original Star Wars film, Episode 4. Even though Star Wars is a cycle of the same film over and over and over. That was an intention from the storyline. But it was a little bit too similar in certain points. That's what I think. Including, which I think was good, but it wasn't shot well, in my opinion, was the Starkiller base. Anyway, the next film that she did was Rogue One. And that, to me, so the good and bad of that, the good was the way it connected to the next particular movie after Rogue One, which is Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars, was really well done. The bad thing about this one, I just thought it was a little bit, there's like really sad moments in this. There was a lot of overwhelming sad points in this, which is part of the actual story that had to be told. But I just didn't really gravitate to it was a different type of Star Wars. It was a very, you would say, emotional Star Wars, and it took away from that space adventure, in my opinion. But at the same time, I did love Force Awakens and Rogue One. The next particular film after that she did was Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. The good thing about this film was it had original thinking process. That was good. The bad was, and I'll say, I think the worst thing about this film was the announcement of the title, which was The Last Jedi. Why is it bad? It's actually a good sounding title, but it did break the tradition of using unique Star Wars words in the title that didn't get used before. We all know Return of the Jedi was number 6, and now we all know that number 8 is The Last Jedi. So when people go on the set of Jedi, they'll say, which one? It's just one of those things that I would have liked to seen a more original Star Wars word in the title. Even though the title was good, I think it was a bad thing. Just giving you 1 point of good, 1 point of bad. I could go on and on and on, but that was, in my opinion. The next particular film after that was Solo, a Star Wars story. And sorry, Rogue One was a Star Wars story. It was a standalone film, and that was what I mentioned before. And the Solo, a Star Wars story, something that was good. I actually loved the director, Howard. I forget his first name. I always forget people's names. Howard, he was really good inclusion. Bad to this film was the actual original directors, which was 2 guys who did the Lego film, and I can't think of their names. And it was bad because I think it was set on a really good idea with those 2 directors, but they got replaced very late in the process. And I just think that would have been, I don't know what direction it was going, but Kathleen Kennedy didn't really like what they were doing, and so Howard was replaced with them, and it was, I can't think of their names. I can't. The next particular film after Solo, a Star Wars story, was Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Good. It was epic. It was an epic conclusion. Bad is, I thought, some of the logic, and I'll give you an example. I think the logic with the knife being held in that particular part on the planet, facing the old Death Star in ruins, getting that interconnectivity of the lines in the knife and that the broken Death Star, I think that was a little bit over the top in its logic. Not just Star Wars logic, but just logic. How would you know where to stand? Things could decay, things could, change, pieces could fall off. I just thought that was the bad thing. And these are just one examples of good and bad. But then she had a slate of TV shows. The Book of Boba Fett was, I thought, generally good. I did like that Morrison was back to play Boba Fett. I thought but the bad I thought was to have Boba Fett to be a good guy, a heroine, was not what we were used to with Boba Fett. Then we had Obi-Wan Kenobi. The good thing about that was we got to sort of see what Obi-Wan was up to. But the bad, surprisingly enough, was the point where they had a duel at the end and Anakin's mask got broken. Now, don't get me wrong, it looked really good. But this idea had been used just before, in, I think it was Rebels or Clone Wars. I think it was Rebels, where Ahsoka fought Anakin and did the same thing. I just thought, we've seen this before. It's a great idea. It would have been better used in Obi-Wan, but, they just took on the opportunity in Ahsoka. Or it was maybe Ahsoka, or it was Rebels, or it was an animated version. But, even though it looked good, I just thought it was bad because we'd seen this before. It was something that had been done. And I don't think Darth Vader was that vulnerable to be, have his mask or helmet get broken twice. I think he's a bit more stronger than that. So then, she did other she did other TV series like Willow, things like that. But concentrating on Star Wars, The Mandalorian. The good thing was, this is the TV series. It was, to me, it was just a good to see Star Wars as a live action TV series. That was good. Bad, which is not that bad, but I just thought it was okay. I was never like through the roof with this thing. I just thought it was okay. Even though the world of Star Wars fans were like, loving this. This is, sometimes I can really connect to what Star Wars fans really love. A lot of times. But in times like this, and even in Australia, from people I've asked, The Mandalorian was okay. Good, okay. That's it. The bad thing about Mandalorian was it really didn't it was a space adventure, but it just really lacked a real pursuit when it just kept going on. The same sort of thing. I just the story started fizzling out as it kept dragging out. But I should say, probably the standout good, I should say the standout good for this particular one was definitely the episode, the season 2 final episode with Mark Hamill, and CGI at its best at that time. It just had a great heroic episode. Amazing. So good. Anyway, so then there was, she did other films like Indiana Jones and stuff like that. But then and then she did Ahsoka. Ahsoka was good. We got to see Ahsoka being a non-Jedi, sort of out there on her own pursuit. That was good. But the bad is some of the shots did look like sort of green screen look. Even though it may not been green screen, it didn't always look, that sort of, gritty, used future sort of feel about it. It was a bit too clean. That's what I thought. Then we had Skeleton Crew. It did have that sort of old school E.T. Goonies sort of feel as everyone was pushing at the time. It was good because it was an adventure with the kids and it unbelievable sets. It was bad because a bad point was that it was just okay. Like, I didn't think it was great. It was another thing that was okay. Then she did Andor. Now, I thought Andor was sort of a bit boring, but at the same time, it had such a different look to Star Wars. A realness that we'd never had before. But the goodness was, I was tell you, and this is where I really connected to the world of Star Wars fans without even knowing. When I put my video out there of the review, especially of season 2, I think it was the last half of season 2, I was blown away. I was like, man, this is great. I put the video out there and I noticed other people, not because of me, that were on the same wavelength, and it was great. It was good for the season 2, the last half, but it was sort of bad because it was sort of a bit. It didn't excite. There was nothing exciting about season 1. It was good. It had a great, different looking canvas, but I just thought it was okay. And so we pretty much ended on Andor, with Kathleen Kennedy's at the top. And so that is the review of her movies. I think she's come out with some, a really good continuation of Star Wars. It's still a space adventure. It still has that feel of Star Wars, in my opinion. Maybe not like the original trilogy. Maybe not like the prequels. Maybe not like the sequels, if that's counts to some people. But it really does venture in different points with the space opera feel in a different way. I mean, TV does restrict a space opera, epic sort of feel. But I think Star Wars still has something to give, even if you didn't like it. Anyway, that's the review for this time around. Let's get with interviews. So interviews is going to be me answering the question directly, clearly, is Kathleen Kennedy good or bad? And that is for Star Wars. And I'll say she is good. Ridicule me or not, I think she's good. Her way of understanding movies from the depths of time in blockbusters, all the way from E.T. and that time, it shows that she has great, skills behind the scenes. But, the area that I think that has made it bad is the perception from the Star Wars fans and maybe outsiders of Star Wars fans, like just regular movie fans, have caused such a continuous, bring down her way of running a studio. I think her biggest fault was revealing too much, too quick, too big, too soon. You never, like for me, if I'm creating something, I don't let anyone know about it till really close to the point, because people will have their own ways of getting things done and it may conflict with them. But I think that was the biggest mistake, besides also missed opportunities in storytelling. Like, Luke Skywalker should have been the one that grabbed the lightsaber that was in the snow in The Force Awakens. It would have set the whole bloody cinema on fire. But the story that she has instructed to give has been still great. Her other weakness is having appointed directors and writers and then getting rid of them at a certain point, either late or early in the stage. I think that was not the best. But really, that really boils down to being, revealing too much too soon. It should just get underway and closer to a finishing point should be then seen. It just needs to be, people need to focus on the story at hand. And when you have outside influence, it causes a lot of ups and downs, lefts and rights and stuff like that. I think Kathleen Kennedy is good. I think I will miss her. I think the new appointees, possibly who is Filoni and Brennan, that's Filoni, the creative side, and Brennan will be more the financial executive side. I think that's a great idea to sort of balance those things together. But I just wish people can, let them take it on, see how it goes. I think I will also add, the only skepticism I have is that why is she leaving now? Is it because she's seen The Mandalorian and Grogu and she doesn't think it's that good? That's the only thing I'll be thinking when I see the film. This is the reason why she left, because it wasn't that good. I think Star Wars fans want The Mandalorian and Grogu to be great, a great comeback. But so far what we've seen is more of a glorified TV episode so far. But we just want that, space opera epic and great storyline, which we could get. But that could be the reason why of her departing now, because she can see the future just like a Jedi. And that could be maybe the reason. That's just my skepticism or theory, whatever you want to call it, of why she's doing this now. I don't know. But I think Kathleen Kennedy is good. And on that note, my friends, until next time, my friends, keep rocking.